In the summer of 2001, divers off the Egyptian coast found something that should not have been there: towering granite statues, perfectly intact, standing upright on the seafloor. Coins, temple columns, and entire ships lay scattered across a grid of streets swallowed by the Mediterranean more than 1,000 years earlier. This was Heracleion, a major port of ancient Egypt, mentioned in classical texts as a gateway for trade between pharaohs and Greeks, but dismissed as legend until that moment. The divers had stumbled upon not just a shipwreck, but a complete urban landscape, preserved under sand and silt by the waters that destroyed it. The discovery shocked archaeology because it proved the sea sometimes seals entire civilizations in a cold, dark time capsule. Among the first artifacts was a massive stele inscribed with decrees from Pharaoh Nectanebo I. It confirmed the city's name and its role as a customs hub where Greek merchants paid taxes to Egyptian officials, a single object that rewrote our understanding of the relationship between these two ancient worlds. Underwater archaeology, it turned out, could not only find lost cities but resurrect their politics, economies, and daily life. But the question remains: how many other Heracleions lie hidden beneath the waves, waiting for flashlights to illuminate their streets? And why did so many ports, built at the edge of land, end up on the ocean floor? The answers involve earthquakes, tsunamis, rising seas, and ground that simply gave way. And they lead to places far more ancient than Egypt, to the oldest known submerged city in the world, whose streets were laid down before the pyramids were built. In 1967, a University of Cambridge team mapped a submerged site off the coast of Laconia, Greece, near the island of Pavlopetri. They found not a scattered wreck but a complete Bronze Age town, its streets, courtyards, and buildings still visible on the seafloor. Pottery and tools date the settlement to around 3000 BC, making Pavlopetri more than 1,000 years older than Heracleion and the pyramids of Giza. The city was planned: narrow roads, a main square, and stone channels for drainage and fresh water run through the neighborhood. Houses had stone foundations. Collapsed walls still trace the outlines of rooms and doorways. Chamber tombs carved into the rock contained burial deposits and grave goods, evidence of ties to the wider Mediterranean world. Pavlopetri did not sink in a single disaster. Over millennia, rising sea levels after the last ice age and gradual tectonic subsidence brought the city underwater. The sea then acted as a preservative, covering the ruins with sand that protected them from looters and farmers. Today that protection is failing. Erosion from boat anchors and souvenir hunters wears away the stonework, and scientists race to document every detail. What has already been recorded offers a window into the dawn of urban life, showing that 4,000 years before classical Greece, people built ordered, planned towns at the edge of the sea. From the deep time of Bronze Age Greece, we shift to the Roman Empire and a very different kind of submerged city. Baiae on the Bay of Naples was not a trading port or a farming town. It was a playground for the rich and powerful, a luxurious spa resort built around natural hot springs. Seneca the Younger described it as a place where vice made itself at home, and emperors like Nero and Hadrian kept villas there. What sank Baiae was not a sudden earthquake or a tsunami. It was a slow, geological whisper called bradysism, the gradual rise and fall of the ground caused by volcanic activity beneath the Phlegrean fields. Over centuries, parts of the city dropped several meters below the sea. The water did not destroy Baiae, it preserved it. Today, divers and snorkelers can swim over intact marble statues, mosaic floors still showing their original colors, and the outlines of grand bath complexes and terraced gardens. The site is an underwater archaeological park, one of the most accessible flooded ruins in the world. The practical consequence is that Baiae offers a rare chance to walk, or rather float, through a Roman pleasure district exactly as it was left. The mosaics you see were trod by senators and poets. The hot springs that made Baiae famous still bubble up through the seafloor. This is not a city destroyed in an instant, but one that quietly slipped beneath the waves, leaving its luxury intact for anyone willing to put on a mask and fins. Port Royal in Jamaica was destroyed in minutes. By the late 17th century, it was the richest and most lawless city in the Caribbean, a haven for pirates, privateers, and merchants who grew wealthy on plunder and trade. Samuel Pepys called it the wickedest city in the world. On the morning of June 7, 1692, a massive earthquake struck the island. The sandy ground liquefied, turning to thick mud. Entire buildings slid into Kingston Harbor, some sinking vertically as the ground opened, others collapsing sideways. A tsunami followed, carrying debris and people out to sea. In less than 10 minutes, 2/3 of the city vanished beneath the waves. What makes Port Royal so valuable to archaeologists is the suddenness of its preservation. Unlike cities that eroded or were abandoned slowly, Port Royal was sealed where it stood, encased by sediment and salt water. Underwater excavations have recovered an astonishing array of artifacts. Pewter plates still stacked on shelves, glass bottles with their contents intact, and a pocket watch stopped at 11:43, the exact moment the earthquake struck. That single object, frozen at the instant of catastrophe, offers a direct connection to that morning. The site has been called the Pompeii of the Caribbean for good reason. It captures not just a place but a precise moment in time, providing a concrete snapshot of life in a pirate capital before the ground gave way. Port Royal's sudden destruction was not unique. Over 2,000 years earlier, a similar fate befell a wealthy Greek city called Helike. Situated on the Gulf of Corinth, Helike was a prosperous member of the Achaean League, a federation of states that controlled much of the Peloponnese. It was known for its sanctuary to Poseidon, the god of the sea and earthquakes, an irony not lost on later writers. In the winter of 373 BC, a powerful earthquake struck, followed by a massive tsunami that surged inland. The entire city was submerged along with its inhabitants within hours. The Greek writer Pausanias later described how the sea swallowed Helike so completely that only the bronze statue of Poseidon remained visible, standing like a warning above the waves. For centuries, the city was considered lost. Then, in the 1990s, a team of archaeologists used ground-penetrating radar and sediment cores to locate Helike, not under the sea, but sealed under a coastal lagoon and later Roman settlements. The earthquake had driven the land downward, and subsequent silting had sealed the ruins. Excavations have since uncovered walls, roads, coins, and pottery, confirming the ancient descriptions. What truly makes Helike fascinating is its possible connection to one of history's greatest legends. Plato wrote his story of Atlantis around 360 BC, only 13 years after Helike vanished. The parallels are striking. A wealthy, advanced civilization destroyed by a single night of earthquakes and floods, swallowed by the sea. Some scholars argue that Helike's sudden disappearance directly inspired Plato's cautionary tale. Others remain skeptical. Either way, Helike presents a tantalizing question. Could a real city, lost in plain sight, have given birth to the most famous lost city in history? The evidence is compelling, but the final answer may still lie beneath the sediment. From a city sealed under sediment, we move to one that never truly disappeared but sank in plain sight. Alexandria, founded by Alexander the Great in 331 BC, became the intellectual and commercial capital of the Mediterranean. Its lighthouse, the Pharos, stood over 350 feet tall and was counted among the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Yet today, much of that legendary city lies beneath the waters of the eastern harbor. The cause of Alexandria's partial submersion is not a single dramatic earthquake like Helike, but a slow, centuries-long process of subsidence combined with repeated seismic shocks. The city was built on the Nile Delta, a landscape of silt and alluvial soil that compresses under its own weight. Over 2,000 years, the ground has dropped by several meters. Meanwhile, a series of earthquakes, particularly in the 14th century, toppled the lighthouse and broke up the royal quarter. The sea moved in where the land once stood. Underwater archaeology began here in the 1990s when a team led by Frank Gaudio surveyed the harbor and found a stunning array of artifacts. Sphinxes, obelisks, colossal statues of Ptolemies and pharaohs, even the massive stone blocks that once formed the base of the pharaohs, all were recovered from the murky water. The finds confirmed that the Ptolemaic royal palace complex, which had hosted Cleopatra and Mark Antony, extended far into what is now the seabed. What makes Alexandria especially poignant is that it is still threatened. The same subsidence that swallowed its ancient coastline continues today, and modern sea level rise from climate change accelerates the process. The surviving ruins in the harbor are being eroded by currents and pollution. The lighthouse that guided sailors for over 1,000 years now serves as a reef for marine life, and the statues of gods and kings sit in a museum of seawater. Alexandria reminds us that even the greatest cities of the ancient world were built on borrowed ground, and the sea is always ready to take it back. But not every submerged city waits for archaeology to confirm its existence. Some were never forgotten at all. Along the western coast of India, the city of Dwarka has been known for millennia, not from ruins above the water, but from sacred texts that describe it sinking beneath the sea as a divine event. In Hindu tradition, Dwarka was the magnificent capital of Lord Krishna, with golden palaces, 7 gates, and a bustling port described in the Mahabharata. When Krishna departed, the texts say the sea rose and swallowed the city in a single cataclysmic moment. For centuries, that story was accepted as myth, a metaphor for the impermanence of worldly power. Then in the 1980s, marine archaeologists surveyed the waters near the modern city of Dwarka, a major pilgrimage site, using side-scan sonar and divers. They found stone structures on the seabed at depths between 10 and 40 meters, rectangular blocks, walls, dressed stone steps, and what appeared to be the foundations of a large building. Pottery and other artifacts were brought up. The discovery seemed to mirror the ancient description too closely to ignore. Controversy followed immediately. Some archaeologists, notably S.R. Rao, dated the structures to around 1500 BC, the late Bronze Age in India, which would place them in the time frame of the Mahabharata. But other scholars argued the evidence is not so clear. The stone blocks could be medieval, perhaps only a few hundred years old. Natural geological formations might have been mistaken for walls. The dating of underwater structures is notoriously difficult because organic material for carbon testing is often lacking, and the texts themselves were written down long after the events they describe, making historical verification nearly impossible. The underwater ruins are real, but their meaning remains contested. Each new discovery is filtered through devotion and skepticism alike. Dwarka's power is not that it perfectly matches the legend, but that it forces a question archaeology rarely faces. Is it the lost city of Krishna or something more complex? The answer may depend on what you are willing to believe. The sea level rises and falls, but it rarely leaves a city untouched. From the contested ruins off India's coast, we move to the Black Sea, where a very different kind of submerged city lies. Fanagoria was founded by Greek colonists in the 6th century BC on the Taman Peninsula in what is now southwestern Russia. It grew into a bustling trade hub, connecting the Greek world with the nomadic Scythians and later with the Roman Empire. For nearly 1,500 years it thrived, surviving wars, invasions, and shifting alliances. Then the water crept in. The Black Sea has risen slowly over the centuries, swallowing the lower parts of the ancient city. Its harbor, its waterfront markets, and sections of the Acropolis now lie beneath the waves. Underwater archaeologists working at Fanagoria have pulled up remarkable finds. Marble statues of gods and citizens emerge from the sediment, their features still sharp. Pottery from across the Mediterranean testifies to the city's reach, but one discovery stands out: a perfectly preserved marble bust of a woman, perhaps a goddess or a wealthy patron, her hair coiled in an elaborate style typical of the late classical period. That face looking out from the depths is not a legend. It is a direct link to the human beings who once walked those sunken streets. Fanagoria's ruins are now a candidate for UNESCO recognition, but coastal erosion and neglect threaten what remains. Here, the evidence is solid, the history written in stone and ceramic, and yet the same sea that preserved it continues to wear it away. Fanagoria leaves us with something certain: stone, marble, pottery, all clearly human. Yonaguni Monument gives us a question. Discovered in 1987 off Yonaguni Island, Japan, the formation resembles a massive stepped pyramid with flat terraces, straight walls, and what look like carved steps leading into deeper water. The whole structure rises from the seafloor in tiers, some perfectly angled, as if designed by an ancient architect. The controversy erupted immediately. Some geologists argued the sandstone was naturally fractured along horizontal and vertical planes, and that millennia of strong currents and tectonic uplift sculpted the blocks into their current shape. They pointed to similar formations elsewhere on the island, where the same forces produce sharp edges and platforms. But the discoverer, marine geologist Masaki Kimura, maintained the monument shows unmistakable signs of human intervention, including symmetrical terraces, straight cuts, and what he interprets as a road and a water channel. He proposed the structure was built during the last ice age, when sea levels were lower, making it over 10,000 years old, far older than any known civilization in Japan. Yet no tools, no pottery, no inscriptions have ever been found at the site, no clear evidence of quarrying or construction. The debate remains unresolved. And it cuts to the heart of underwater archaeology. When a structure lies beneath the waves, free from soil layers and associated artifacts, how do we tell the difference between something made and something that only looks made? Yonaguni forces us to confront that question without giving an answer. It is not a lost city in the way Heracleion or Port Royal are. It is a test of our willingness to see pattern and our ability to admit uncertainty. Atlit Yam offers no such ambiguity. Discovered off Israel's coast in the 1960s, the site lies 8 to 12 meters below the Mediterranean. Dating to roughly 7,000 BC, it is one of the oldest known submerged settlements on Earth. Divers mapped houses built from field stones, stone-paved courtyards, water wells, and a semicircular stone circle that may have served ritual or daily life. Inside that circle, human remains were found with objects that hint at beliefs we can only guess at. What makes Atlit Yam exceptional is the organic material sealed by sediment. Seeds, bones, and wooden tools survived, revealing a sophisticated mixed economy. The people farmed wheat and barley, herded sheep and goats, hunted wild animals, and caught fish. They were early farmers adapting to a coastline that was slowly changing around them. Then, around 6,300 BC, the village was abandoned seemingly overnight. The best evidence points to a catastrophic tsunami, possibly triggered by the collapse of Mount Etna thousands of kilometers away. One well contained the skeletons of a mother and child, found together for 8 millennia, a silent testament to a disaster no one could have predicted. Atlit Yam is not a legend or a mysterious formation. It is a real, well-documented Neolithic village submerged by a sudden geological event. It gives us something Yonaguni cannot. A clear window into the daily lives of people at the dawn of farming, before cities, before writing, before any record except what the sea preserved. Unlike the sudden catastrophe that ended Atlit Yam, Miseno slipped beneath the waves through slow geological subsidence. This Roman naval base controlled the western Mediterranean from its harbor, but like neighbor Baiae, it sat on the unstable volcanic coast of the Bay of Naples, where bradysism caused the ground to sink over centuries. Port structures, warehouses, and admirals' villas now lie submerged, and divers can explore foundations and piers. The most impressive remnant is the Piscina mirabilis, a colossal freshwater cistern carved into volcanic tuff. Its massive columns and vaulted chambers once held enough water to supply the fleet and surrounding town for months. Built high on the hillside to rely on gravity, its floor now sits below sea level in places, a precise, measured shift of several meters during the same bradyseismic movements that drowned Baiae. The subsidence is geologically measured and precisely dated, tying Miseno's fate directly to the forces that reshaped its neighbor. The concrete discovery is the scale of this change. A military hub engineered to project Roman power was undone by the earth beneath it. That slow, relentless sinking preserved it as an underwater monument, still accessible to divers. A different force submerged Chenkun port in Fujian province. Silt carried downstream and rising sea levels. During the Song dynasty around the 11th century, it was a working gateway on the Maritime Silk Road. Ships loaded with porcelain, tea, and silk left for Southeast Asia and India. The same rivers that made Chenkun prosperous gradually clogged its harbor with sediment. The land sank under the weight, and over centuries the port slipped beneath the muddy water. Unlike the dramatic subsidence at Baiae, Chenkun's submersion was gradual, a slow choking by river sediment and creeping seas. As the river deposited sediment, the coastline advanced, pushing the harbor further from the open sea. Eventually, the port became landlocked and unusable, abandoned to the silt. Underwater surveys have pieced together its story. Divers found stone anchor blocks weighing hundreds of kilograms, carved with grooves where ropes once held merchant vessels. They recovered shards of Celadon pottery from kilns hundreds of kilometers inland, proof that goods traveled long distances across China before being shipped overseas. They traced sections of seawalls and quays, now tilted and fragmented below the surface. The concrete discovery, the anchor stones, are not Chinese in design. Some bear markings and shapes common in Indian and Arabian shipbuilding. These foreign-style anchors show that non-Chinese ships also called at Chenkun, making it a true meeting point for cultures from across the Indian Ocean. The silt that covered the city also preserved evidence of that global connection, waiting centuries to be found. The same silt that preserved Chenkun's harbor also held Heracleion beneath the Mediterranean. Since its discovery in 2001, the site has continued yielding revelations. Archaeologists have now mapped a large temple complex to the god Ammon, with ceremonial boats deposited in its foundations. They have found dry docks and more than 60 shipwrecks within the city, showing that Heracleion remained a working port even as parts sank. One stele carved in Egyptian hieroglyphs and Greek records a decree by Pharaoh Nectanebo granting Greek merchants trade rights in the Delta city. This matches accounts by Herodotus that many scholars had dismissed as legend. The stone confirms his description of a port where Greeks and Egyptians mingled and shared a temple. Heracleion did not vanish in a single catastrophe. It sank gradually over centuries from sea level rise and soil compaction. That slow submersion kept many structures intact. Water filled the spaces gently, preserving walls, statues, and wooden ships where they were moored. One ship, 60 meters long, still held wine jars and bronze coins, revealing that sailors adapted to the rising water and navigated its canals until the sea finally won. Each new dive brings up more objects: a gold medallion stamped with Alexander the Great, a bronze lamp blackened from use, a papyrus fragment with Greek poetry. The city is not a static museum. It is an archive being read page by page, and the story is far from complete. Heracleion teaches that a city lost to the sea does not have to be a closed book. It can keep speaking long after it sank. 7,000 years separate the Neolithic farmers of Atlit Yam from the pirate capital of Port Royal, but all 12 cities share a common fate. The sea claimed them. The causes differ: earthquake, tsunami, volcanic subsidence, siltation, slow sea level rise, yet the result is the same: a world that once was now submerged. Because of that submersion, we have a level of preservation land sites almost never offer. Wooden ships, papyrus scrolls, bronze lamps, human skeletons, temple foundations, street outlines. The sea did not destroy these cities so much as lock them in time. What ties them together is a sobering truth. Every coastal civilization faces the same forces reshaping our coasts today. The ground sinks, the sea rises, storms intensify. The people of Heracleion built higher walls and adapted their ships, but eventually the water won. The geological forces that destroyed Helike in 373 BC are still active. The sea level rise that drowned Atlit Yam is accelerating now. These are not exceptions, they are recurring patterns. The real lesson of these 12 ports is not that the past is fragile, but that we are fragile. Every generation builds its cities assuming tomorrow will look like today. The sea disagrees. Underwater archaeology does not just explore the past, it holds up a mirror to our present vulnerability. The lost ports remind us that every generation believes its cities are permanent, yet the sea always reclaims its shore. Which of these 12 submerged cities would you most want to explore and why? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to join us on monthly deep dives into history's most fascinating mysteries, from lost cities to ancient technology. New discoveries are being made all the time. Do not miss the next one.